Chapter 61 Admiral Nelson. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At sea, coming towards other people's boats at the slightest disagreement can be regarded as an enemy. The 8th branch of the Navy, Admiral Nelson. Lord Roy's subordinate Eric, there are important criminals wanted by the Navy on your ship, the Straw Hats. If you don't want to cause trouble, hand over the important criminals. Eric glanced at Moonlight fearfully, pointed at Abias behind Nami and said. Navy. The 8th branch. Admiral Nelson. Roy. To offend. Hearing this, everyone was stunned, and then their eyes fell on Abias. They are pirates, and they are wanted objects, but he is obviously not talking about them. In this case, it seems that Abias is the only one. Such a big child is actually a wanted criminal by the Navy. What the hell did she do that an admiral ordered to hunt her down? You must know that the admiral is a big man above the colonel, he commands 50 fleets alone, and there are thousands of people under his command. When he was in Rogue Town, Smoker appealed to the headquarters for help, and a large number of navies arrived before he surrounded Rogue Town and wiped out all the pirates, and these people were full of people, adding up to a fleet of less than 40 ships. This is still patchwork. And Nelson alone has such a team. One can imagine how powerful it is. It is no exaggeration to say that it swept the invincible hands at sea. Such a big shot wants a little girl. Obviously it's not easy for a little girl. That's right, Straw Hats, maybe you are very strong, but in front of the Admiral, you are just a group of ants. If you want to stop him from doing things, then be careful. Eric sneered. Luffy, do you still remember our Navy surrounded by iron chains across the river? This man is 10 times stronger than them. If we mess with him, we will definitely die in the sea. Usopp trembled. He never imagined that such a little girl would attract the pursuit of such a big man. It is really unbelievable. Facing such an existence, what is the difference between them and a mantis blocking a car? Luffy, this is a big shot. Nami couldn't help trembling. She looked at Abias, extremely surprised. Okay. Zoro and Sanji didn't speak. Obviously such a big man made them feel very troublesome. There was a gleam in Yuegwang's eyes, and he didn't speak. It seemed to be acquiescing. Indeed, they couldn't afford to provoke such a character. How is it? Straw Hats, look at your course. It is a great route. If you want to go safely, then hand over the prisoner. I can pretend that I have never seen you, otherwise you will bear the consequences. Eric said coldly, this is tantamount to a threat. So what? However, Luffy suddenly smiled and said lightly. Okay. Eric's eyes flashed, listening to this meaning. Could it be? I'm going to the Great Route, and I don't need anyone's consent. I will go there in an upright manner. Whether it's Admiral Neil or the pursuers, if you want to stop me, then just come. Abias is my friend. I will send her home. Anyone who dares to stop me, I will beat him into the air. No one can bully my friends. Luffy said coldly and gave him the answer. Luffy. Abias couldn't help being moved. She thought that facing Nelson's power, Luffy and the others would hand her over. After all, who would dare to provoke such a big man? But he didn't expect that this monster-like captain with arms that could be stretched would actually say such words. A friend? There was a gleam in Abisa's eyes. It seems that the Straw Hats are really going to fight us to the end. A cold light flashed in Eric's eyes, and he confirmed again what the Straw Hats meant. You man, do you have hearing problems, or are you just an idiot? Didn't you hear what our captain said? Sauron pouted, disdainful. What about the Admiral? Just let the horse come here. If you want to take such a beautiful little lady away, I can't agree. Sanji lit a cigarette and made a gentleman's courtesy to Abias. You guys, that's an admiral, but since you want to harm our friends, then, we will fight to the end for our friends. Usopp also said bravely. Originally, when Eric said Admiral Nelson, his scalp was blown, but since Luffy spoke, there is no doubt about it. Since Luffy decided to do this, he will support it to the end. Good. Eric nodded, said 3 good words in a row, took a deep look at everyone, then turned around and left immediately. He miscalculated. He thought it would be easy to chase a little girl. but he didn't expect ABIs to be rescued by the Straw Hat Gang. Now it doesn't work to report Admiral Nelson's name, the Straw Hats are really arrogant, but thinking of Moonlight's extremely powerful sword, he really wasn't sure that he could take away ABIs single-handedly, not to mention that the other people on the boat hadn't made a move yet. He was outnumbered, so he had no choice but to leave now. Everyone, thank you so much, thank you so much. After Eric left, ABIs thanked everyone. No, aren't we already friends? Since we are friends, there is no need to be so polite. Luffy laughed, with a bright smile on his face. I'm just upset about being threatened. What about Nelson? We're pirates. If we're afraid of the Navy, why come out? Sauron said lightly. That's right. Since we are going to the Great Route, we should go there in an upright manner. How can we give up immediately when we are threatened? In that case, we will underestimate our determination. Sanji nodded and said. Okay, tell us where you live. Nami looked at ABIs and asked. I live on a small island called Gunkanjima. To get there, I need to sail east. ABIs thanked again and again, pointing to a certain direction to the east. Is that the direction? Okay, no problem, brothers, let's go. Seeing this, Luffy nodded and shouted. Usopp immediately turned around and headed for Battleship Island. While they were heading to Battleship Island, Eric returned to the naval base and reported directly to Nelson. The Straw Hats. It's the pirate group that has just risen. There are still pirates who dare to fight against me in this sea. Eric, I will give you 10 big ships and 20 cannons to bring ABIs back. If you can't do it, the deal is over. Hearing this, Nelson's eyes flashed coldly. Even a mere pirate dares to be his enemy. Court death. He looked at Eric and said lightly, Eric is the pirate he hired with money, because only he knows about this matter, so he spares no expense. Don't worry, there are many of them. I am outnumbered because I only have one person, but with these fleets, the Straw Hats are nothing to worry about. ABIs will definitely bring them back for you. Eric nodded, a chill flashed across his face. The two of them had come to some kind of agreement, and it was in that agreement that he would work with Nelson. Chapter 62. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This is also a secret that only the two of them know. Here, this is my hometown, Gunkanjima. At this time, Luffy and the others drove all the way according to the course pointed by ABIs, and came to a small island like a warship. It really is a very appropriate name. Everyone looked at the island in front of them. The Real Island lived up to its name, like a warship. Everyone, thank you very much. If it weren't for you, I might have died at sea. As a thank you, I invite everyone to dinner. ABIs said enthusiastically. Eat. Is there any meat? Upon hearing this, Luffy's eyes immediately glowed red. Ah. ABIs nodded emphatically. Wow, I want to eat meat, I want to eat meat. Luffy immediately danced excitedly, then aimed in one direction, and ran over as if flying. Hey, Luffy, I haven't led the way yet, do you know where to go? Sauron couldn't help shouting. However, Luffy had already disappeared in a flash. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but be speechless. This guy, when he hears meat, it's like he's possessed by a demon, and he can't listen to anything. Okay then, let's take a good rest, recharge our spirits, and then go to the Great Route. Nami nodded. The Great Route is not an ordinary place, it is the dream of all pirates. In such a place, no one knows what will be encountered, so we must raise our spirits and move forward with all our strength. Okay, everything is up to Ms. Nami. Sanji looked at Nami, his whole body twisted, and everything was centered on Nami. Moonlight, aren't you going? Usopp looked at Moonlight, and saw Moonlight standing on the boat, not going down. No, let me watch the boat. Sanji, can you cook for me before I leave? Moonlight waved his hand, waving the Kusanagi sword again and again. The closer he got to the Great Route, the stronger the sense of crisis in his heart, so he seized the time and kept practicing. It is good. Hearing this, Sanji was rarely serious, nodded, and went directly to the boat to prepare Moonlight's food. This guy is already as strong as a monster, and he is still so hardworking. In time, he will definitely stand at the peak of the swordsman, just like Hawkeye, Nami murmured. Talent, hard work, if a person has these two things at the same time, it is very scary. Usopp nodded, he had to admire the Moonlight, really powerful. He has already stood at the peak of the swordsman. Even Hawkeye, I think he can contend, but it is impossible to judge who has a greater chance of winning. Sauron curled his lips. Everyone has a way of exercising. Although he has a body like a monster, he can't bear Moonlight's life-threatening training. However, he has his own method, and he is confident that he can surpass Moonlight and Hawkeye. This is his confidence. This person is amazing. A strange light flashed in Abisa's eyes. She had seen Moonlight make a move, and under panic, it was Moonlight's voice that made her feel at ease. This is a man who speaks like a mountain and is convincing. Okay. Let's go. At this time, Sanji had finished work, and after taking a look at the Moonlight, he and the others headed to the island. The Moonlight stayed behind, and the Kusanagi sword waved again and again. Ding! You performed the Phantom Sword dance and gained 100 by 100 experience points. Ding! Phantom Sword dance has been promoted to LV2. Ding! Satisfy the promotion requirements, comprehend piercing through the air and draw your sword. Ding! Break through the air and draw a knife to cut LV11/100000. Have you learned new skills? Moonlight looked at the new skill, break through the air and draw the sword to slash, accumulate several sword chi, condense them together, and pull them out suddenly. The longer the chi is stored, the greater the power and the wider the range. This is the combined version of sword draw and phantom sword dance. Moonlight couldn't help being amazed. Drawing the sword and slashing is extremely powerful, but the range is a bit small, while the phantom sword dance is extremely powerful, but the power storage time is too long, and drawing the sword through the air combined these two abilities. Can't say it's good, can't say it's bad, but it should be good. The skills sent by the system will not be garbage. Break the air and draw your sword. Moonlight shouted loudly. I saw a crescent-like sword energy suddenly condensed on the Kusanagi sword. This sword energy did not burst out, but continued to condense, forming a crescent-shaped ball of sword energy. After 3 seconds, the sword energy in the ball was full, and the Moonlight swung the sword out. Wow! The sword energy is like a dragon, leaving in a vast expanse. I saw a huge fan-shaped sword aura erupting on the sea surface. First of all, the range fluctuated to a distance of meters, and this crescent moon sword aura was all in sight. Compared with drawing a knife and chopping, the range is 10 times larger. Moreover, the diameter covered by the sword energy reached a terrifying 50-meter radius. That is to say, with him as the center, the area with a diameter of 50 meters is covered by sword energy, and the sword energy spreads out, reaching a range of meters. I saw the sword energy pushing away the sea, wreaking havoc in the sea. Wherever it passed, the sea was pushed away deeply, and countless sea creatures turned over one after another, killed by sword energy. Moreover, the waves of the sea are surging, and the waves of the sea, as the sword energy continues to rush, the sword energy rages, extending to hundreds of meters away, before suddenly disappearing. The meter sea was in a mess as if it had been ravaged by a sea tornado storm. The power of a sword is so terrifying. If you encounter that kind of navy that locks the Hengjiang formation again, you don't have to worry about it. This sword is enough. Moonlight couldn't help but click his tongue, breaking through the air and drawing a knife to slash. It is really terrifying. Did something happen at sea? At the same time, the people who had already landed suddenly felt the strong storm breaking out at sea, so they couldn't help but stop and look back. However, from their direction, they could only see the turbulent sea and a crescent-like sword chi. But nothing else. Baby Eyes couldn't help being surprised. It's okay, it's Moonlight. He's practicing. It seems that he has comprehended a more powerful move. Nami waved her hand with a look of surprise. She was used to it. Moonlight constantly practiced on the boat, and often used powerful sword skills to surprise them. This guy. Sauron curled his lips, but was surprised in his heart. This talent is too strong. Let's go. Usopp shrugged, looking indifferent. They are all a bunch of monsters, I'd better be a mortal obediently. Very good, let's work hard and improve this skill. Moonlight nodded in satisfaction and began to practice. At the same time, under the guidance of ABIs, everyone came to the island restaurant. What made people speechless was that Luffy had already arrived and had already eaten. Did you find this guy by your nose? That everyone was speechless, but ABIs entertained them warmly. After the people on the island knew that Luffy and others had saved ABIs, they all thanked them. Everyone laughed, ate and drank, and in the blink of an eye, it was late at night, and everyone was drunk and sleeping soundly. Suddenly, ABIs turned her body quietly, carefully observed Luffy and the others, and after making sure that they were all asleep, she packed a meal for 100 people and walked quietly towards the mountain on the island by herself. She walked very lightly, for fear of attracting attention. Especially Luffy and the others. Chapter 63 Nianlong's Longevity Legend. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But the moment she left, Sauron woke up. He is a swordsman, and although he is addicted to alcohol, he is extremely alert. Then came Usopp, who claimed to be a liar. He had already seen that ABIs was lying, so he had been on guard for a long time. After that, Sanji and Nami also woke up one after another. Except for Luffy, they were all alert, but in order to scare the snake, they didn't move for a while, until ABIs walked away, and everyone stood up. Sure enough, I knew a long time ago that she has a problem. Usopp looked at the direction where ABIs disappeared and said. A little girl was hunted down by a big man like the Admiral. To be honest, I can't believe it. Sanji took a puff of his cigarette, and his mind was abnormally clear. So, this little girl is definitely not simple. Sauron nodded, putting his hand on the hilt of his sword. You'll know if you keep up, but is Luffy so vigilant? Nami agreed, but when she saw Luffy sleeping soundly, she couldn't help but be speechless. Fuck, this guy. Seeing this, everyone was speechless. After waking up Luffy and explaining it, Luffy finally understood and couldn't help being curious. The next group of people quietly followed in the direction ABIs left. ABIs' speed was not fast, so they quickly followed, but they saw ABIs walking all the way up the mountain, with a small body, dragging an oversized food bag, which was very difficult. The crowd followed quietly without saying a word, and just like that, they followed ABIs. Slowly came to the mountain, and then entered a cave. When they followed behind and saw ABIs throwing food at a huge monster, they couldn't help being stunned. Oh my god, that's coming. At the same time, Moonlight was also tired after a day of practice on the Mary, and after eating the meal Sanji left, Moonlight sat down on the observation deck contentedly. After an unknown amount of time, suddenly there was a sound of waves crashing. Moonlight immediately became alert and looked towards the sea. It was already dawn at this time. The sun had just jumped out of the coastline, and the sky and the earth were grey and bright. I saw dense black spots appearing on the sea in the distance, and they kept approaching. After 10 minutes, the sky was slightly brighter, the sight was better, and the black spots had arrived nearby. The Moonlight immediately saw at least, large naval ships rushing towards them. One of the main ships is extremely huge. Although it does not reach the level of a warship, it is also extremely fierce. Countless navies are coming here fiercely. Moonlight's eyes were sharp, and she could see at a glance that there were two people standing on the main ship. One of them was Eric, who was chasing ABIs before. Now he goes and comes back. Next to Eric is a captain of the navy who commands everything. At the same time, Eric also saw the Mary and Moonlight standing on the observation deck from afar, and sneered immediately. Sure enough, my judgment is correct. The Straw Hats brought ABIs to the battleship island. It happened that they were caught here. Colonel, this is the Straw Hats, the notorious pirates. They ordered their ship to be sunk before arresting them. After speaking, Eric looked at the captain of the navy. The Straw Hats. Hearing this, he couldn't help being surprised. Without him, this group of pirates has gained a lot of fame recently, especially the Rog Town incident, which has completely ignited their reputation. After confirming with the telescope at the moment, decisively issue the shelling order. There are pirates ahead, everyone, prepare for shelling, and warn first. Yes. After receiving the order, everyone immediately became alert. The shells of more than 20 large ships immediately locked on the melee. The Navy is really weak and benevolent. Is it necessary to treat these pirates? These are extremely vicious characters. Everyone has blood on their hands. If you want to talk about benevolence to them, just kill them. Hearing this, Eric couldn't help sneering, what a feeble navy. The captain of the navy couldn't help but frown. The navy didn't need anyone to dictate what to do. What's more, on this ship, he was the only one in control, and the orders he issued could not be questioned. Eric was hitting him in the face. If the Admiral hadn't asked him to cooperate with Eric, he would have turned his back on him long ago. Forget it, it's impossible to catch ABIs with you bastards, give me a boat, Eric shouted. Give him, the captain of the navy waved his hand. Although he was dissatisfied, he still remembered the Admiral's explanation and gave him everything he needed. Just right, last time I saw you had a lot of people, this time, I also brought a lot of people, you don't have any advantage. After Eric boarded the boat rushed towards the Mary like an arrow, and stopped in front of the Mary after a while. Instead of getting on the boat, he looked at the Moonlight on the boat and said with a sneer, the last time he was forced to retreat by Yueguang's sword, he had been brooding about it all the time, but because there were too many people at that time, and Yueguang was so powerful alone, it was conceivable that the others had no choice but to leave now, but now, it's different. He came with 20 large ships, and this force was enough to wipe out any existence on the sea. Boom! At this moment, the surroundings of the melee were bombarded by shells one after another, and the sea water was rushing. The powerful force made the melee shake violently, and even the small island has been affected. The shelling has begun. What's wrong? Is there an earthquake? Everyone sleeping on the island was awakened immediately. Pirates ahead, you are already surrounded, obediently catch them without a fight, or you will be at your own risk. At the same time, 20 large naval ships stopped tens of meters away and stopped advancing. The voice of the Navy suddenly sounded, and the shelling was a warning. It's the Navy, it's the Navy. No, these nasty navies are coming again, hurry up and notify the Straw Hats. Huh? Where are they? They were still here just now. Look for it. Hearing this, everyone immediately reacted. It turned out that the Navy had arrived. I couldn't help being shocked at the moment, and hurriedly looked for Luffy and the others. I didn't expect that there really are dragons in the world. It seems that the legend is true. At this time, Luffy and others followed ABIs to a cave and saw an incredible scene. I saw a dragon entrenched in the cave. It's just that this dragon is a bit old, although it is still majestic, it is very weak. Hearing the movements of Luffy and the others, ABIs couldn't help but be surprised. Didn't they fall asleep? What's the matter? Seeing that she couldn't hide it anymore, she had no choice but to tell the whole story. Admiral Nelson of the Navy believed in the rumor that he could live forever by taking the keel of a 1,000-year-old dragon, so he searched around, and finally found this place, and found her. I see, no wonder you are wanted by the Admiral. Suddenly, everyone was stunned. Longevity, who would not want this? But can anyone really live forever? No one believed it before. But now, looking at the legendary creature in front of them, everyone was stunned. Maybe, it really can. Boom! At this moment, Dao suddenly trembled. Everyone was shocked. They didn't know what happened, but ABIs is a person with the ability to whisper the fruit, can talk to the Millennium Dragon, and immediately knew the arrival of the Navy. Exclaim now. What? The Navy has surrounded here. Chapter 64. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Navy is here. Luffy and the others were also surprised. I didn't expect the Navy to be so hot in pursuit and come so fast. No, the Moonlight is still on board. Usopp couldn't help shouting. Yes, in this case, Moonlight will be surrounded, and we have to go back quickly to support. Nami was also worried. No need at all. With that guy's strength, no matter how much Navy comes, it's just a delivery. However, Saran smiled lightly and didn't care. He understood the strength of Moonlight. unless Admiral Nelson dispatched the whole army, how many people would come, how many people would die? Moonlight's ability, how could anyone be able to deal with it? Yes, although I don't know how strong he is, but based on the power we felt just now, we don't need to care at all. Sanji also nodded, lit a cigarette, and exhaled a smoke ring. If there is anyone on board that he can trust the most, it must be Moonlight. ABI's, so, Master Long wants to go back to his hometown. As long as he returns to his hometown, he doesn't have to be afraid of people asking for his keel, and he can remember the past, right? Luffy asked. He seemed unaware of the presence of the Navy. Everyone was speechless. Is this captain so nervous? ABI's couldn't help being speechless. Did you hear what I said? Your crew and ship are probably surrounded by the Navy. Are you not worried at all? But ABI's nodded to Luffy's question. That's right, Master Long just got separated from his companions. If he can go back to his hometown and find his companions, he won't be afraid of anyone, and he can remember the past and return to his previous life. Is it the hometown of dragons? Isn't there many thousand-year-old dragons? I'm really looking forward to it. I didn't expect that there are dragons in the world. I thought it was a legend. I also feel the same way. How spectacular it would be if we could see the hometown of dragons. Is it in the sky? Hearing this, Nami, Usopp and others became excited. Dragon, that's a real dragon. How many people in the world have seen a real dragon? Not to mention the hometown of dragons. I feel excited just thinking about it. Okay, I've decided, let's help Master Long and return to his hometown. At this time, Luffy said firmly. Ah. Usopp and the others nodded. This time they rarely agreed with Luffy's point of view. Before going to the Great Route, it was an unforgettable scene to see the legendary dragon. Thank you, everyone, thank you very much, but Master Long is too big, let's find a way to take him down. ABI's quickly thanked her. She never expected that the group of pirates who saved her would be so enthusiastic. She is really grateful. No, we are friends. Luffy smiled brightly, a piece of sunshine. I think I can use that. Usopp quickly had an idea, pointing to the slope outside the cave. Good idea. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. Scythe. At this time, near the Mary, Eric had already rushed up. His speed was extremely fast, the airflow around him accelerated, he volleyed down, kicked violently with one foot, and shouted loudly. Immediately, an incomparably sharp, sickle-shaped air current cut open the air, striking towards the Moonlight fiercely. Extremely fast, almost instantaneous. Crack! Moonlight drew his sword and slashed, and the air in front of him suddenly became scattered, like pieces of tofu that had been cut open, with cut marks appearing. And the sea water around, seemed to be slashed with a sharp sword, with straight lines appearing. With 2 brushes, they can actually block my weasel. The blow was useless, and Eric couldn't help but frown. Obviously he didn't expect that Moonlight would resist his attack head-on. You must know that he is a user of the sickle fruit, his whole body cuts like a sickle, his offensive is extremely fierce, and he cuts everything. The swords of ordinary swordsmen can't stop everything about him. Moonlight can block his blow, which shows its strength. But kid, that's all for now, let's use this blow to finish you off. Thinking of this, Eric's eyes grew cold. With a turn of the body, he slashed downwards in the air. It's like a huge human-shaped sickle, gathering all its strength, from top to bottom, splitting mountains and rocks, slamming down. Immediately, the air was split in 2, fierce and unparalleled, coming suddenly, especially at such a short distance. There is no way to hide, no way to avoid. Coupled with Eric's whole body dancing with it, it can be said that it is impossible to guard against. Your sword is very strong, but how strong are your people? If I can't split your sword, I will kill you. Eric sneered. He has already seen that the sword in Yueguang's hand is a divine weapon. His abilities are useless against it, so what about people? How can a mere body of flesh and blood block my blow? No, run away. What kind of attack is that? Even the air is split. My God, Mr. Moonlight. At this moment, the people on the island had already come to the shore, and seeing Eric's extremely powerful blow, even the air showed long cracks, they couldn't help shouting towards the Moonlight. Although this person is arrogant and unruly, and no one pays attention to him, he does have this strength. Seeing Eric make a move, the captain of the navy paused the shelling, and then saw such a terrifying blow from him, he couldn't help being secretly surprised. In the navy, strength is always respected. Although he doesn't like this person very much, his strength is in front of him and he has to obey. The navy behind him also nodded. I've seen this person upset for a long time, what, dare to yell at their colonel, looking for death. But now that the strength is shown, everyone is silent and indifferent. Although he is crazy, he has such strength. Hee, can't you move anymore? I won't hold back, die. Seeing Yueguang seem to be frightened, standing still, Eric sneered, mercilessly, he slammed down in the air. Instantly cut down towards the Moonlight. Clang. However, he was stunned, and a shocking scene happened. He heard an extremely dull voice. His whole body turned into a scythe, and he slashed at Yueguang's body, as if he had slashed on a piece of fine steel. Instead of being cut off, he was stuck inside. I saw Yueguang raised one hand, and grabbed his fierce and unparalleled blow with the palm of his hand. It's just that at this moment, a jet-black luster flashed on the arm. Armed. His armed domineering aura at this time has reached the level of LV4, and the armed aura is no longer simply strengthening the outside, but can already gather domineering aura and carry out strikes from the outside to the inside. Although Eric's attack was extremely fierce, under the strengthening of the Moonlight armed domineering, let alone cut through the skin, at this time he didn't even cut off a single hair. On the contrary, the body was tightly grasped by the Moonlight, and the whole person could not move. How is it possible? This is, hiss. He actually blocked such a terrifying attack with his palm. Is he still human? It's too strong. In this case, how strong is his physical body? Chapter 65 One Sword Cuts the Navy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing this scene, the villagers on the island, who were extremely worried, couldn't help being stunned and incredulous. It's amazing. The attack of the man with the sickle head was so strong that even the sea was chopped off with traces. However, the member of the Straw Hat Gang, Moonlight, was even stronger, blocking such a fierce attack with his body. Are they still human? As expected of a bounty with a reward of 5,000 million, his bounty is still higher than their captain's. What's going on? The captain's eyes flickered, looking at the scene before him, he was shocked. Impossible. How could such a thing happen? However, at this time, the most shocked person was none other than Eric. He tried his best, and the blow he was sure to get was blocked like this. And with his physical body alone, he is useless even with a sword. What a joke. How could such a thing happen? He is the ability user of the sickle fruit. That's it. At this moment, Yueguang's eyes suddenly turned cold, flick with one hand. Armed and domineering. Boom! Eric's whole body was thrown far away like a cannonball. All of a sudden, it spanned a distance of tens of meters and slammed into the Navy's main ship, directly hitting a big hole, and after he stopped, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Suffering serious injuries. The inside of his body has been seriously injured by domineering. Bombardment. Seeing this scene, the captain of the Navy changed his face wildly. He didn't expect Eric to be defeated so easily, so he gave an order immediately. On the large ships, the cannons were fired together, and in an instant, at least, shells roared out. Especially on the main ship, there is a big, dark muzzle aimed at the Moonlight. Super big iron cannon, that the captain of the Navy ordered without hesitation. Immediately, an iron bullet that was 3 times bigger than the other shells was sandwiched among the shells and blasted over. Draw the knife and cut. Seeing this, Moonlight strikes again. A crescent-shaped sword centered on the body and slashed away in a fan shape. Buzz. All the shells flying in the air were cut into 2 pieces and fell into the sea. Even the bullet from the main cannon was cut open. The power of the Moonlight strike is so fierce. Cut it. He cut the naval bombardment. Is this really a human? Oh my god, thought the villagers on the island, who were already shocked, couldn't help being even more shocked when they saw the scene now. This is too strong. Physically overwhelming the terrorist attack of that naval expert, cutting through the naval bombardment with a single sword, this is definitely not something that normal humans can do. Is it so powerful? I don't believe that you can cut open my bombardment continuously and endlessly. Everyone, keep bombing until he is exhausted, that the captain of the navy was also shocked. With such terrifying sword skills, it is no wonder that the bounty offered exceeds their captain. At first he thought it was the wrong arrest warrant, but now it seems that he was wrong. But so what, they have more than 20 cannons, and they have enough shells to be able to bombard continuously. No matter how strong you are, can you block the continuous shelling? All of a sudden, there was a chaotic sound of boom 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 shells, shaking the whole sea, roaring and churning. I saw the endless bombardment that continued to be chaotic, and they rushed over. At this moment, the navy displayed its invincible and powerful firepower across the sea. All the muzzles began to focus fire, and the powerful firepower bombarded, and the sea with a radius of meters burst into waves of turbulent waves, extremely turbulent. At this time, the sea became extremely turbulent as if it had been ravaged by a 10th-level typhoon, although Moonlight shot again and again, but as the captain of the navy said, no matter how strong your swordsmanship is, how can you defeat me with dozens of cannonballs? When we were in Rogue Town, other members of the Straw Hat Gang made a move. Now you are alone, so what can you do? No, these naval bombardments are too fierce, Mr. Moonlight can't handle it alone. As expected of a navy, it is rampant on the sea. With these ships and shells, no pirate can compare, but I don't want Lord Moonlight to die, because he saved ABIs. Damn it, why is it so scary? All the people on the island had solemn faces, extremely worried, but looking at this scene, there is nothing he can do. They are just ordinary people, an ordinary sailor can stand up to 10, so how can they be opponents? Right now, I can only be in a hurry, but there is nothing I can do. The artillery fire is too dense. Do you plan to consume me like this? Moonlight repeatedly used the sword to slash, cutting off all the shells. Although the sea was choppy and turbulent, the Mary behind him was unscathed. He was also on the defensive just to protect the melee from being hit. If there is no such concern, although the navy is strong now, it will not be able to take a blow from him. But right now, before Luffy comes back, he can only do this. Moonlight. At this moment, a loud shout suddenly sounded from the sloping hill on the island. With a move in Moonlight's heart, he saw Luffy and others sliding down the mountain. ABIs was among them, and behind them was a big dragon. Did you find it? Moonlight's pupils shrank. This is a dragon. Millennium Dragon. Creatures of legend. What is that? My god, dragon. Are there really dragons in the world? All the navies couldn't help being attracted, and when they saw the Millennium Dragon behind Luffy, they couldn't help being shocked. Even the captain of the navy couldn't help shaking violently. This is a legendary creature. Everyone has heard of it, but no one has seen it. Oh my god. Sure enough, the legend is true. There really are dragons in the world. As long as you get the dragon bone, you can live forever. Eric supported the mast and stood up. Although he was injured by the moonlight, as a fruit-capable person, his recovery ability was amazing. At this time, he had recovered a certain amount of mobility. However, he was staring at the Millennium Dragon behind Luffy and the others. His eyes were full of heat. As long as you get the keel, you can live forever. At that time, he will be the strongest person in this sea. Good chance. But at this time, seeing that everyone's attention was attracted by the Millennium Dragon, the shelling stopped immediately, and he sneered in his heart. The sword is raised. Break the sky, draw your sword and slash. Moonlight long drink. Immediately, a mass of crescent-like sword energy condensed into a crescent sphere, appearing on the Kusanagi sword. After accumulating chi for 3 seconds, he slashed out with a sword. I saw a huge group of sword crescents with a diameter of 50 meters and a range of meters, which looked like crescents, slashing out. Crack. Immediately, under everyone's stunned and shocking eyes, 20 large naval ships tens of meters away, including the main ship, were cut into two pieces by the sword energy. The cabin was broken, the mast was broken, endless sea water surged in, a large number of sailors fell into the water, even the captain of the navy fell into the sea. Slash the navy with one sword. At this moment, the sky and the earth are dead silent. Chapter 66 Admiral Nelson's Fury, The All-Army Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This is a lie. After a long time, a villager covered his face and said with a trembling voice, his face full of shock. No, it's true, Lord Moonlight. Really alone, he defeated more than 20 large ships of the navy, including a main ship. Another villager gasped. Although his face was full of disbelief, the facts were in front of him, so he couldn't help but believe it. Listening to the conversation between these two people, all the villagers came back to their senses and couldn't help but gasp. Too strong. What is a strong man across the sea? This is it. With the strength of one person, he smashed through 20 large ships in the navy. Such a strong man is standing in front of them now. Straw Hat Pirates, Moonlight. Wow, Moonlight, it's amazing. At this time, Luffy and others slid down from the mountain. From a distance, seeing this scene, Luffy was ecstatic, and jumped down from the mountain with a big smile on his face. What's the name of your sword? Sauron tightened the knife in his hand and asked. Hawkeye defeated Creek's, large ships by himself, and Moonlight also defeated the Navy's, large ships by himself. But how can those pirates compare with a well-trained navy, especially the Sicklehead, who is a devil fruit-capable user? In this case, Moonlight's strength can already keep pace with Hawkeye. In other words, Moonlight is now one of the best swordsmen in the world. I originally thought he was strong enough, but now it seems that I underestimated him too much. His potential is like a bottomless pit, which is endless forever. When Sanji saw this scene, the cigarette in his mouth dropped suddenly, and it burned Master Long. Sanji quickly lit another cigarette and murmured. I've always thought that you, Luffy, and you are not normal humans, but monsters, but now it seems that Moonlight is the monster among monsters. That's the Navy. There are more than 20 large ships, and you just defeated them with one sword? Usopp's eyes popped out, with a look of hell. Right now people are saying that Moonlight is our vice-captain. Judging from his current strength, I have no problem with him being the vice-captain. Although Nami was also surprised, she laughed. The stronger the Moonlight, the stronger they are. This human swordsman is so powerful. That's Admiral Nelson's subordinate, Abias murmured, a look of shock flashed in her eyes. Master Colonel, all our ships have been hacked, and there are only a few spare emergency ships left. This swordsman is really powerful. Fortunately, he chopped down our ship, otherwise we would have suffered heavy casualties. I have never seen a swordsman with such powerful swordsmanship. Colonel, what should we do? Retreat? At this point, the Navy was in disarray. Such an accident happened suddenly, and no one was shocked. At this moment, at least half of the people fell into the sea, and the other half were on the boat that was cut in half, rushing to save people, and several guards asked the colonel for instructions with a look of shock. Retreat quickly. The colonel didn't hesitate. Just joking, facing such a terrifying enemy, why don't you retreat? Waiting to die. If he strikes again with a sword, there will be no way out. Whoosh. However, at this moment, there was a person who was faster than them, and it was Eric. He snatched a small boat and left like an arrow. This bastard, he only talks about how powerful and strong he is, and now he escapes faster than anyone else. Seeing this, the captain of the Navy said coldly. Luffy, Zoro, everyone. Moonlight couldn't help laughing when she saw the people sliding down the mountain. Sure enough, they found the Millennium Dragon and revealed Abisa's secret. However, when he greeted everyone, he suddenly saw Luffy jumping down from the mountain, and the direction was actually towards him. He couldn't help being shocked. He was about to dodge, but it was too late now. How fast Luffy was, he was flying down in the air, and coupled with the elastic force of the rubber when he jumped, the speed was not much slower than a cannonball. When he greeted, it was already too late. Now straight to the door. Crack. Suddenly, there were more human-shaped potholes on the boat. Hey, where are people, where are people? Luffy got up from the pothole, looked around in a daze, full of doubts. Where did the moonlight go? Looking at the moonlight in the pothole, everyone was speechless for a while. Is this really our captain? Hey, Luffy, Moonlight blocked more than 20 ships of the Navy by himself, and protected the Merry unscathed. Look at you, you damaged the ship as soon as you came up. Uso pulled up the moonlight in the cave, pointed at the big hole and shouted. Okay, everyone is here, let's go now. Luffy jumped onto the bow, full of energy. Did you hear me? Usopp burst into tears. Just get used to it, get used to it. Zoro patted Usopp on the shoulder. No way, who asked us to share such a captain? Sanji also nodded, baby eyes. Okay, the Merry is safe and sound, everyone, let's set off too. Nami laughed and ordered everyone to tie Master Long to the back of the boat, and Abi's led the way. After bidding farewell to the villagers, they drove away in the direction pointed by Abi's. Abi's is a person with the ability to whisper the fruit, and can talk to animals. Although Master Long is very old and remembers it for a while, at a critical moment, he can remember some key things at least. After a while, everyone came to a small island. Is this Dragon Island? Everyone was excited. Naval base. After Eric, the captain of the Navy and others returned to the base in a mess, the whole base suddenly boiled. What? The colonel was actually defeated by the Straw Hats. That's more than 20 ships and more than 40 rounds of cannons. The Straw Hats are so powerful. As expected of a big pirate with a combined bounty of hundreds of millions, he indeed has some strength. The Straw Hats, it's not easy. Seeing this scene, the Navy around were all surprised. The Straw Hats. How dare you stop me, I will never let you go. In the center of the hall, Admiral Nelson stood up angrily from his seat when he heard the report from the captain and Eric. When the body like a hill stood up, the whole hall seemed to shake. Nelson looked at Eric. Even you are not their opponent. He was a little unbelievable. He knew Eric's strength. In this sea, there was actually an existence that could rival him. One-on-one, I have no problem, but the Straw Hats are more terrifying than the rumors. I was plotted by them. Eric said. Of course he wouldn't say that he was defeated by one person, and he didn't even catch 3 moves. Too embarrassing. Yes, Lord Admiral, we completely underestimated the Straw Hats, said the captain of the Navy. Of course, he couldn't say that his more than 20 ships were defeated by one person, otherwise this record would be enough to kill him 100 times. Okay, the Straw Hats, how dare you stop my plan? I want to kill you. Pass my order, the whole army goes out, I want to annihilate them at sea. Chapter 67 The Strongest Power in the East China Sea. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yes. The colonel was shocked. The whole army attacked. This is a large-scale operation that hasn't happened in many years. The last time, it was when the former One Piece Roger was still alive. And now, it appeared again, whether it's the clique pirates known as the Overlord of the East China Sea, or Aaron of the Dragon Pirates, although they are on one side, they vaguely call the strongest pirates in the East China Sea, but all of this is paper in front of Admiral Nelson. Now that the whole army is attacking again for the Straw Hats, it can be said that the entire East China Sea is about to boil. This is the strongest force in the East China Sea. You didn't complete the mission. After the captain left, only Eric and Nelson were left in the room. Nelson looked at Eric with a cold light in his eyes. Although I didn't complete the task, I saw the Millennium Dragon. Eric said lightly, facing Nelson, he was not afraid at all. What? Nelson took a tight breath, and ecstasy flashed in his eyes. Is this true, a living 1,000-year-old dragon? Of course, but it looks like he's about to die. It doesn't matter. As long as he can get the most important keel in his body, he will live forever. Eric nodded, and when he said the words of immortality, a trace of greed flashed in his eyes. Who wouldn't want to live forever? Okay, let's go. Nelson nodded, he didn't want to wait for a moment now. What Straw Hat Gang, what Eric, anyone who dares to stop him from living forever, he will let him die. Is this really where the Millennium Dragon is? Why doesn't it look like it? At this time, Luffy and his party went to the island. When they came to the island, they found a dilapidated ruin, slipped and fell into an underground palace. Looking at the murals painted on the walls around the palace, there is no trace of the Millennium Dragon at all, and Nami can't help but question it. This Master Long is probably getting old, so he can't remember clearly. Abies glanced at Master Long in embarrassment, and said, "Cannot remember. Aging? That is to say, we are wandering around." Hearing this, everyone looked at Abies in unison. For this Apis felt like she was sitting on pins and needles, and said uneasy. Not necessarily, although this is definitely not Dragon Island, but it must be a place related to Dragon Island. Look at this painting, does it look like Worship Island? At this moment, Moonlight suddenly pointed to a mural, which was a little blurry because it took too long, but if you look closely, it is exactly the same as Worship Island. Really, is this Battleship Island? Everyone looked over, and after careful identification, they couldn't help but exclaim. Why does the portrait of Gunkanjima appear here? Sauron wondered. Is it really related to Long Island? Sanji couldn't help but get excited. If possible, he could get 1 or 2 pieces of legendary dragon meat to make ingredients. Wouldn't he become the legendary dragon chef? Perhaps, this island is the road sign pointing to Long Island. Usopp became excited, this is a legendary adventure, it makes people have a long-lost blood. Why do I look like a piece of meat? Luffy rubbed his stomach and looked at the portrait in doubt. I go. Hearing this, everyone was speechless. Can this also be like meat? In your eyes, is there nothing else but meat? Moonlight, what do you think? Nami couldn't help asking Moonlight, among these people, only Moonlight is the most reliable. I don't have a clue at all. Just a blurry portrait can't explain anything, but there is also a possibility. The starting point is also the end point. Long Island may be Worship Island, Moonlight said with a gleam in his eyes. Battleship Island is of course Dragon Island, it's just that the Worship Island is used as the coordinates, and it sinks into the bottom of the sea with the ocean currents. It takes a certain amount of time to reappear, but for how long, who knows, besides, he is not sure that it will appear. Is the beginning the end? Everyone was puzzled and looked at the Moonlight blankly. I'm just speculating. What kind of creature is the Millennium Dragon? Why did it appear on Worship Island? There should be many islands nearby. There are many places better than Worship Island. He said that he was separated from his companions and was tired from flying. He rested on the island, but his companions didn't find out, and wouldn't they come back to look for him? What Dragon Lord said is a contradiction in itself, so I guess, whether Dragon Island is Worship Island, and his companions also looked for him, but because of some things, they all left. Moonlight said. It's entirely possible. After saying this, Usopp immediately clapped his hands in agreement. Indeed, if you say so, it is indeed the case, but there is no evidence to prove it. Sanji nodded, his eyes sparkled with wisdom, but this is only a guess after all, unless the real Dragon Island is found, no one can prove it. Besides, Master Long is now half confused and half awake, leading everyone is also confused. I predict. Seeing this, Nami was about to speak. Boom! Suddenly, an earth-shattering explosion sounded suddenly, countless shells were bombarding the entire island, shaking it. What happened? Everyone was shocked. It's the Navy. Moonlight moved extremely fast, jumped up, and when he came outside the main hall, he saw the entire island surrounded by the Navy. Damn it, has the Navy already found it? It's so fast. Hearing this, everyone was shocked, and hurriedly left the palace, looking at the densely packed Navy in front of them, enclosing the entire island with iron locks across the river. My God, is the entire navy dispatched? Even with Sauron's heart, he couldn't help being surprised when he saw this scene. 50 ships, these, 50 large naval ships, and they are still the kind of combat ships at sea. How many people are there? 8,000. 1. 2. Ah, we are completely over now. Usopp was terrified, and counted the large naval ships that surrounded them one by one with his hands. When he counted to the end, he sat down on the ground in fright, and said in despair. More than that, they also have a warship. Sanji took a deep breath of smoke, and looked at the center of the navy, the huge monster that traversed the sea like a sea monster. This is the supreme weapon for the navy to run rampant on the sea, the real weapon to suppress pirates and run amok on the sea. Even the warships are coming, this lineup is too exaggerated. Nami was shocked, a navy of this size is terrifying. It's Admiral Nelson. In order to find Lord Long and realize his ambition of immortality, he has mobilized all the navy. What we are facing now is the real strongest power to dominate the East China Sea. Chapter 68 The Most Powerful Man in the East China Sea. You are listening at novelfull.audio. ABI's panicked, in a pair of eyes, is full of despair. Admiral Nelson's entire army attacked, with 50 large ships and 1 warship. This lineup can be described as terrifying. No pirate, with such power, can't resist it. Boom boom boom, and at this moment, 50 large ships had already started shelling. And lock the target, set fire together. This power is terrifying. I saw a cannon locked on the island and directly bombarded it. In an instant, 100 cannons flew together, at least 100 shells pierced the sky, and violently bombarded the entire island. The whole island seemed to be shaken by an earthquake, and it was constantly being bombarded with whales. Countless boulders, small peaks, woods, birds, animals, etc., all the existences on the sea trembled under the bombardment. It's too strong, 100 cannons fired at once, with devastating power, enough to sink this small island. Fortunately, there is no one on the island, otherwise the casualties would be heavy. The Mary was like a flat boat, swaying constantly. Fortunately, the Navy's target was not the Mary. All shells hit the island with precision, and the Mary miraculously remained unscathed. It's too strong. This is Admiral Nelson, the supreme force that dominates the sea. We seem to have no room to fight back. Sauron said solemnly, the scene in front of me is really amazing. It is no longer something that one person can resist. We probably have completely pissed off this admiral. After all, this is the suppression of the entire East China Sea. The most powerful person in the East China Sea. It is not surprising that he has such power. Sanji took a breath of his cigarette and said in a deep voice. It's not that he got angry, it's that we stopped his ambition to live forever. Who would be willing to do such a thing, especially someone like the Admiral of the Navy? Nami's face was as serious as water, and she looked around the sea area, trying to escape by the current. She is a navigator, using the sea as her forte. Stop guessing here, hurry up and think of a way to get out. Usopp's face turned pale and trembled with fear. This kind of power is enough to kill gods and Buddhas. How terrifying it is, even a lawless person like Sauron has such a face, let alone him. It's useless, give up. What Nelson wants to do, he will definitely do. No one can stop him, because he is the Admiral of the Navy. Nelson, the strongest man in the East China Sea. Abi stuttered every word, completely desperate. Who can resist this man's attack in the entire East China Sea? Luffy, I leave everyone to you. However, at this moment, Moonlight suddenly took a step forward and spoke. Moonlight, what are you going to do? Hearing this, Nami felt uneasy and asked. Yeah, Moonlight, in this situation, don't do anything stupid. This is 50 big ships, and it's in the hands of one person. It's different from the time in Rog Town. Usopp also hurriedly shouted. He vaguely guessed what Moonlight was thinking, but how could that be possible? Moonlight. Sauron tightened his sword and took a step forward. Sanji also rarely dropped the cigarette in his hand, with a straight face. Although there are not many words, but the meaning is obvious, let's fight together. Luffy didn't speak either, just looked at the Moonlight with a serious face. It was the first time this expression appeared on Luffy's face. No need, you protect Master Long. Although I may not be an opponent with such firepower, it is not a problem to hold them back. During this time, you'd better act quickly. After you escape, I will catch up. Don't worry. Moonlight smiled lightly. Armed. Immediately, armed domineering wind wrapped around the whole body, and the Kusanagi sword swung across. 3 cuts. Buzz. A crescent-like sword chi slammed down from the mountain. And the Moonlight, along with the sword energy, rushed down together. Moonlight. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help exclaiming. That's 50 big ships, does Moonlight really have to deal with it alone? Everyone, hurry up, let's hurry up. However, Luffy suddenly drank loudly at this time, his face was as solemn as water, and he looked at everyone. It is good. It was the first time that everyone saw this expression on Luffy's face. They didn't dare to be negligent at the moment. After attacking with the Moonlight and attracting all the firepower of the Navy, they took Master Long and headed down the mountain quickly. Moonlight can't last long, so they must not waste the time Moonlight bought with their lives. Every second counts. This fat man actually has this ability. At this time, Eric stood aside, watching the scene where the whole army concentrated fire under Nelson's command, and the scene of hundreds of artillery bombardments. He couldn't help being shocked. There are as many pirates as a cow's hair, running rampant on the sea, especially in the age of great navigation after Roger's death. It is like rain, but why has there never been a single pirate who can compete head-on with the Navy? Not even the legendary 4 emperors. He has always been wondering, but now, he understands. No matter how strong you are, how can you withstand the naval bombardment? This is just a place like the East China Sea. How powerful it would be if it came to the Navy headquarters. Although there are many pirates, the strongest is the Navy. Okay, those pirates should come out now, otherwise they will sink into the sea with the whole island. The captain of the Navy looked at Nelson admiringly and said. Yes, it's coming out, otherwise it will sink into the sea if it doesn't come out. Nelson smiled and said, with the wisdom beads in hand, everything is under control. As if in response to him, just as he finished speaking, suddenly, a crescent-like sword energy slashed down from the mountain peak on the island. The sword energy is ferocious, fierce and surging, all the way it passes. It cuts objects when it encounters objects, cuts water when it meets water. It is invincible. Just like that, descending from the mountain, rolling towards them. It really came out. The captain of the Navy was shocked and gave an order. Bombardment. Immediately, 100 cannons flew together, blasting at this sword energy. Although this sword energy is extremely strong, one section after another, there are 3 sections of sword energy. Even under the domineering entanglement of the Moonlight armed color. It is even more powerful. One section is more powerful than the other. However, under the flying of hundreds of naval guns, they were abruptly blasted away. Fierce artillery fire, invincible. Mere sword energy, what is it? It's the deputy captain of the Straw Hats, the swordsman Moonlight, who destroyed more than 20 of our ships alone, but unfortunately, Admiral Nelson is now in charge, not before. No matter how good your sword skills are, you will sink into the sea under shelling. The captain of the Navy sneered. He has seen the Moonlight. Just as he was about to give another order to shoot at Moonlight with artillery, suddenly, the Kusanagi sword in Moonlight's hand raised again. Break the air and draw your sword. Shoot! A crescent-like sword aura with a diameter of 50 meters and a length of meters suddenly came across the sky. Where the sword energy passed, the sea water violently churned, rolling and swaying, bringing up turbulent waves, and slashed towards the Navy. It's useless, no matter how good your swordsmanship is at this moment. It's just a mantis arm blocking a car. The captain of the Navy sneered, and immediately 100 cannons flew. Boom boom boom, that the artillery fire flew together, roaring in the sky, shaking the whole sea to mourn. The sword chi cut out by the moonlight was blown away again. Chapter 69. This deputy captain, I recognize. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The strength of the navy is indeed strong enough, that seeing this, Moonlight's heart shuddered. Under LV4's domineering armed look, he went all out, but still could only draw with the navy. Hundreds of artillery bombardment, it is terrifying. However, this is also Nelson's perfect command. Without Nelson's perfect command, even 100 cannonballs can't help him. From this it can be seen that this person is so strong that he is worthy of standing at the peak of the East China Sea. But, Moonlight glanced at Luffy and the others. At this moment, they are quickly approaching the Mary with Master Long. It seems that it will take some time. In this case, the pupils of the Moonlight flashed. Phantom sword dance. Boom! Countless strands of sword energy suddenly slashed out, phantoms continued to condense around the body, a huge mass of sword energy suddenly condensed into a ball, and slashed into the sea in front of him. The waves of the sea rolled up the stormy waves. Ha! He's still alive. This swordsman is a bit interesting. He can stop all my artillery. Seeing this, Nelson's eyes flashed. This was the first time he had seen such a powerful swordsman. Lord Admiral, I found the straw hats, they are leading the Millennium Dragon to the boat. At this moment, the captain of the navy found Luffy and the others and reported quickly. The Millennium Dragon. Hearing this, Nelson took a tight breath, immediately took the binoculars, and looked into the distance. Immediately, I saw the huge body of the Millennium Dragon. Okay, you are here, keep shooting at this man with artillery, don't stop, others, turn around and stop the straw hats for me. Nelson made a decisive decision and ordered. What? Admiral, is it too risky for you to drive the warship there by yourself? However, upon hearing this, the captain of the navy could not help but speak. Adventure? It's okay, and Eric, with his strength, it's not a problem to deal with the straw hats. What's more, this warship is equipped with a new weapon invented by the great scientist Vegapunk, the laser particle cannon. Is there anything to worry about? Nelson said with a smile, he has great confidence in the warship. What? Vegapunk? Laser particle cannon. Hearing this, the captain of the navy gasped suddenly. Who is Vegapunk, the first genius scientist in the world government? It is no exaggeration to say that the world is the first. If Roger was the navigator who roamed the seas in the last era, then Vegapunk is the #1 scientist in the world in this era. Rule the field of science like no other. No problem, but Lord Admiral, I still have a question, do we need to use 50 large ships to deal with Yueguan alone? Isn't this a little overkill? The captain of the navy nodded quickly, but then looked at the Moonlight and hesitated, 50 big ships, just to deal with one person? I think highly of this man. It's not to deal with, but to stop. This man is no longer something we can deal with. It's good to be able to stop him here. However, although he is very strong, he is not weaker than Chi Wuhai. There is such a man in the East China Sea, but so what? How can one person stop me when he is running across the sea? Nelson smiled lightly, then drove the warship, changed direction, and drove towards Luffy and the others. What? Not to deal with it, but to block it? Kueihai. This Moonlight actually has the strength of Kueihai. Hearing this, the colonel felt as if struck by lightning, and looked at the Moonlight, he couldn't help being shocked. Boom! At this moment, the Moonlight performed a phantom sword dance, condensed into a huge mass of crescent sword energy, slapped the sea water, and came surging. Boom boom boom, .50 large ships fired at once again with hundreds of cannons, and all the muzzles were aimed at the Moonlight. In an instant, hundreds of shells pierced the sky and roared towards them. The sea couldn't help being shaken into rough waves, and waves of turbulent waves kept rolling. The terrifying collision caused even the sea clouds in the sky to roll over. After the bombardment, looking at the Moonlight who was still standing in the same place safe and sound, the captain of the navy suddenly understood what the admiral said. Hundreds of artillery bombardments were fired just to stop Moonlight, but they couldn't deal with this man at all. Because he already has the strength of Kauai. If it weren't for this 100 artillery bombardments and this formation, it would be impossible to deal with him. With him alone, he can single out the entire navy. At first he didn't believe it, how could such a character appear in Donghai? But now, he believed it. Because such a character is standing in front of him. They fired with hundreds of cannons, but they just blocked the slash from Moonlight, that's all. Thinking of this, he didn't dare to be careless anymore, he commanded the navy again and again, bombarded with hundreds of artillery, and kept bombarding down. Boom boom boom, that the sea is choppy and turbulent, and the sea area where the Moonlight and 50 large ships are located is completely blocked by terrifying stormy waves. Damn, this firepower is too fierce, I can't do anything to them, and they can't do anything to me either. Moonlight can't help but be helpless. As expected of Admiral Nelson, this concentrated fire of hundreds of cannons is too powerful, and he is trapped in front of his eyes, unable to advance an inch. Of course, it is not enough to deal with him with this. But blocking his actions is completely fine. He can't get away. Of course, you can also retreat, but once you retreat, it will be the melee who will take over the 100 guns and bombard them. The melee will be blasted into wreckage in an instant and scattered into the sea. Luffy and the others will also suffer a major blow. So he can't retreat. Seeing Nelson leaving in the warship, then, from now on, I will only trust Luffy and the others. Sailing on this sea is impossible without a partner. No matter how strong his swordsmanship is, no matter how invincible he is, if he wants to reach the finish line, he can't do it alone. My God, is that really Moonlight? One person stopped 50 large ships of the navy, that at this time, the earth-shattering vibration erupted by the explosion of hundreds of artillery shells attracted the attention of Luffy and the others. They couldn't help being shocked. I know that the Moonlight is very strong, but it is too exaggerated to be so strong. That's 50 big ships of the navy. It is equal to a medium-sized base of the navy. In this case, wouldn't Yuegwang reach a naval base by himself? Usopp was shocked first. Not only is he superb in swordsmanship, but he also cares about us. He did this to protect us. The name of the deputy captain is worthy of the name. Sanji took a deep breath of cigarettes and looked at Moonlight. At this moment, he has fully recognized Moonlight. This deputy captain, I also recognize it. Sauron nodded, how arrogant he is, but seeing this moment, he also nodded, fully agreeing. A strong man like him is a figure no matter where he goes. He obviously can have a bigger future, but he is on our ship, sailing with us, caring for us, and not looking down on us at all. He even fights with the navy for us right now. Such a person, who can be a deputy captain, who can be. Nami looked at the Moonlight with a determined face. Apis's eyes were moist, and she was very touched. This is the real pirate. Moonlight, hurry up, we have to sail together. Luffy laughed loudly, and shouted loudly towards the Moonlight. Suddenly, Luffy's voice resounded throughout the sea. Everyone can hear clearly. Hearing this, the corners of Yuegwang's mouth raised, his left hand stretched out, and his thumb raised. Chapter 70 Wisdom as a Demon, Admiral Nelson. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hee, if you have time to talk nonsense here, you might as well think about your own situation in the future. Straw hats, you are doomed today. However, at this moment, a cold voice rang out suddenly. It was Admiral Nelson, who was driving a warship, and Eric was the first to bear the brunt, looking at everyone coldly. Without Moonlight suppression, the straw hats are not worth mentioning. Immediately, the body moved, gliding in the air like this, and came towards the crowd. I come. Seeing this, Sauron slashed out 3 times, facing Eric, and slashed away. Boom. Powerful forces confront each other and are evenly matched. Alright, I'll leave it to Sauron. Luffy nodded, trusting Sauron very much. The others hurriedly took Master Long and sailed away in the direction pointed by Master Long. What's going on? We're back on the battleship island again. After a while, Luffy and the others were surprised to find that they had circled a big circle. Isn't the island that looks like a warship in front of them the island of a warship? ABIs, what's going on? Sanji couldn't help asking. I don't know either. Master Long's memory also comes in bursts. He said it was near here. ABIs looked helplessly at Master Long. Damn it, are you already confused? Sanji couldn't help frowning. It would be difficult to do this. Boom! At this moment, a stormy sea suddenly exploded around the Mary. Immediately, the current around the melee was churning, and riding the current, it flew very far away, and even Master Long was hit by the torrential sea water, and immediately roared in pain. Not good. Nelson, the villain, came here with a warship. ABIs panicked. At this time, Nelson was driving the warship, heading towards the Mary. On the warship, a cannon the size of a water tank aimed at the Mary. It was his masterpiece just now. Ah, it's a warship. This is the magic weapon of the Navy for sailing the sea. There are not many ships on the sea that can withstand the bombardment of warships. Usopp couldn't help trembling. The reason why the Navy is so powerful and rampant on the sea is mainly because of this warship. This is a powerful weapon at sea. There may not be one of those big pirates. Now we are in trouble. Nami couldn't help worrying. In front of the warship, the Mary is like a child, vulnerable to a single blow. The shelling just now, I'm afraid it was deliberately missed, otherwise we will be in trouble now. Sanji took a deep breath of cigarette, stood on the deck, his face became solemn. Never mind, keep going. Luffy shouted, clenched his fists with both hands, full of fighting spirit. It is good. Everyone nodded and continued to sail with Master Long. Straw hats, smash it for me. Nelson grinned and said, out of the justice of the Navy, the shot just now was just a warning. Since you are still stubborn, you are welcome. Especially when he saw the Millennium Dragon on the back of the melee, his face was full of endless greed. Immortal. Attack me, attack fiercely. Nelson ordered. Boom! On the warship, shelling bombarded out. A shell the size of a bucket was bombarded at an incomparably fast speed, which was 3 times faster than the shelling on an ordinary large ship. Like a meteor flash, it is fleeting, and there is no time to react. Boom! The cannonball hit Long Yi accurately. Master Long immediately let out a sky-shattering roar, screaming again and again. Not good. Nami couldn't help but exclaimed, it was too fast, they couldn't react at all. So fast. Sanji's face was extremely ugly. After all, he still underestimated the power of the warship. Usopp was trembling, but at this moment he turned the rudder quickly, trying to get out of here quickly. Hateful. Luffy gritted his teeth, it was too fast, he didn't even react. Sanji, you guard that side, I guard this side. Usopp, Nami, everyone hurry up. Luffy shouted, and there was a solution in an instant. Rubber balloon. Immediately, he took a long breath, and his body swelled up suddenly, becoming like a huge sphere, blocking all the routes that could be attacked in front of the melee. It is good. Sanji nodded and stood on the other side of the ship, blocking all the lines of the bombardment flight. Crush him for me. Seeing this, Nelson sneered. The straw hats are indeed extremely difficult to deal with, but so what? In front of the giant warship, there is no power to fight back. At the moment, the warship is galloping towards it, and it is about to smash the melee to pieces. Damn it, this guy actually bumped into him directly. Seeing this scene, Luffy couldn't help but look extremely ugly. The enemy is really too cunning and scheming. It's not that he is not strong enough, but that all his power is useless. The other party seems to know them very well. They just thought of a way, and the other party took the first step. This feeling is too uncomfortable. This is the Admiral of the Navy, Nelson's strength. We are completely suppressed and beaten in front of him. Sanji exhaled smoke and sighed, he has now seen that their tricks have already been thoroughly analyzed by others, and the opponent has predicted the enemy's opportunity first. As soon as you make a move, he will know what move you are going to make, and he will respond in advance, so that you have all your strength, but you can't use it. To be manipulated completely in the palm of his hand, this kind of person is too scary. Usopp was speechless. He had always had the most methods among the crowd, but in front of Nelson, he seemed insignificant. Usopp, turn the rudder 45 degrees to the left, the warship is about to hit. Nami yelled loudly, yelling at Usopp while using the current to evade. Usopp hurriedly took the helm. It is good. Usopp did what he said, without any ambiguity. Hee, it's over for you guys. Nelson is a fat man. Although he has no ability, he is the Admiral of the East China Sea. He is as clever as a monster. No matter how good you are, if you don't have a boat on this sea, you will be a turtle in a urn. Eric glanced here and said disdainfully. Hateful. Sauron was in a hurry, but Eric's strength in front of him was extraordinary, he couldn't break through for a while. As expected of a warship, the entire Navy headquarters has a limited number. This supreme artifact that sails the sea is truly terrifying. His bombardment is extremely powerful, especially this Nelson, who is worthy of the name of Admiral. Luffy and the others are completely under the palm of their hands. Moonlight was also anxious, but right now his actions were blocked in place, unable to move at all. The Navy's shells seemed to be endless, and the constant bombardment made him unable to stop. Is this person really a human being? After firing so many cannonballs at him, he looks like a normal person. The captain of the Navy was equally astonished. They continued to shell one after another without stopping for a second. After such a long time, Moonlight did not feel tired at all. He couldn't help being surprised by such a fierce man, but when he saw Nelson driving the warship towards the melee, he smiled, as expected of Mr. Nelson. Great, the Straw Hats are going to die. As expected of the Admiral, this is finally coming to an end. The Admiral is mighty, long live the Admiral.